Hello friends, just a quick video. I received a customer return for a Gotek and it has a very unique failure mode. The buyer has reported anytime he puts a USB thumb drive in this Gotek, it fries the USB thumb drive. So I've never had a failure mode like that before, so I figured I'd turn the camera on and we'd go through it and see what's going on. I have a couple of potential ideas, but obviously based upon the Berg 4-pin connector, it's probably somehow sending 12 volts, because that's one of the pins on this connector, probably sending 12 volts to the USB drive somehow. That is theoretically possible by putting the power connector in upside down, and some of the 4-pin power cables aren't keyed. Normally they are, and most of them are, and certainly the more modern ones are. But some of the older ones I've seen the ones that are actually not keyed, and you can actually plug them in upside down. And of course, this will send the 5 volts to the 12 volts and the 12 volts to the 5 volts because they are on the two outer pins. So if you plug it in upside down, they'll send the wrong voltage in. Anyway, so that's a theory that I have, but who knows? The thing might have an internal short and be sending 12 volts to the USB, or it could be a voltage regulator problem, so we're going to try to figure this out. I also noticed that the pins on the power connector are kind of bent up. I'm fairly certain, since I test every one of these, plug them in, and fix any bent pins, because they do come from the factory with pins a little bent. This one here is an example, but I don't believe that one was bent when it went out. Although when you pull cables out of ribbon cables out of the 34-pin connector, because it's got 34 pins, it holds it on there quite strong. And if you happen to pull it, sometimes it wants to come off to one side or the other, and that sort of thing will happen. Okay, so let's hook power up to this. He says that it still works. It still comes on, but it fries drive. So we're going to go ahead and plug power onto it, and then I'll turn the camera on, and then we'll show you what happens when we power it up. Okay, so here we have it all plugged into power. I don't have the ribbon cable plugged in. It's plugged into an Amiga 500. Here we go. Okay, indeed, this is powering up properly. So we know that 12 volts is not going to the microcontroller, because that would fry it for sure. So unless it has some circuit protection, which I guess is possible. All right, well, the next thing I want to do, I do have some sort of cheapo USB drives that we can fry, and I do intend to plug one in at some point. I just want to kind of be prepared ahead of time for what happens. So I'm going to take the cover off of this, and we're going to measure voltage on the USB port when we power this up again. Okay. Okay, I don't have the USB pinout memorized, but the connector looks like this. It's got like a tab in the middle, and the pins are below the tab, you know, inset into the tab. And so VCC, 5 volts, is all the way on the left. But if we turn it upside down, we've got these pins, and the pins are going to be reversed. So the voltage is going to be 5 volts on this last one. These two outer pins are the shield, and they're just attached to ground, probably along with that one on the left. And this one on the right should be our VCC. So I've got my multimeter here, and I'd like to connect the ground to probably the shield. So, okay, we're going to power up, verify we still have something going on there, and we're going to test the VCC so that you can see the display. 4 volts, 4.7 volts. And the other pins, the data pins, are nothing. The ground is nothing. So, I think it's time to plug a USB drive in there and see what's going on. Anyway, so here we have it hooked to our Amiga. And I don't know what to tell you. It works perfectly. Okay, so I've had this thing plugged in for quite a while and I'm not having any problems with it. I'll scroll through the images. I only have a few on this one. Yeah. So here we have an interesting thing that happens to me on a regular basis. I guess with the Goteks, it's even more common. But I will get most of the returns that I get. I receive the item back and it works fine. Now, with the Goteks, it's extremely understandable, in some cases anyway, because, you'll plug it into your device and you'll have like a Roland keyboard that has a floppy drive or some kind of sampler or who knows what it is, an IBM PC, and you're good at music, you're a very good performer and composer and all this. But as far as electronics are concerned, or maybe even mechanical abilities, you're kind of below average. So what'll happen is you'll plug it in and it won't work and you'll think it's broken and you'll just send it back. And it's just as simple as that. It's just part of the experience that I have selling stuff on eBay, and it doesn't make me annoyed or anything, but it's just all a part of selling stuff. And eBay automatically has a policy that I agree with. If the customer has any problems, they should be able to return it. Customers don't realize that the problem is not with the device, it's with their device or the way they're trying to install it or whatever. And there has to be a certain percentage of those that have buyer's remorse. So I'm sorry to say that we won't have any smoking USB drives today. And the person who, I guess the person who reported to me that this is this item smokes USB drives, I'm compelled to go back to them. A lot of people wouldn't because they're non-confrontational or whatever, but I don't see it as a confrontation. I see it as, well, hey, buddy, you may want to check your equipment or make sure you don't plug the cable in upside down. I'm not apt to ruining equipment. Otherwise, I would just plug the cable in upside down to see what happens. But let's just say that I know that bad things are going to happen. But anyway, just thought I would share with you some insight onto what I sell on eBay and how it works and all that, and how customer returns are sometimes, I get them back and I will never know 100% sure why, but I get them back and they work. There's nothing wrong with them. I can't resist. There is one thing about these pins sticking up also. If you try to plug this in upside down, it is going to push those pins up. And fortunately, somebody perhaps already did that. And so now this kind of fits upside down.
Of course!
I have to know. So he said that it fried drives, but it also worked. Now this is either gonna just fry itself right away, or it'll power up. I don't have a thumb drive in it. Let's see. Oh my God. It works with the cable upside down. So there's some sort of circuit protection for the 5-volt rail, but I'll bet it doesn't extend to the thumb drive. Okay. Ready to test this, folks? It's working. Keep your eye on the meter. 12 volts to the USB, and the thing still works. All right, so I'm pretty much guaranteed to blow a thumb drive if I plug it in there. Why don't I grab one? I'm actually going to take the case off of it and we'll maybe see some magic smoke. Okay, are you guys ready for this? Where's my fire extinguisher? I have two cameras set up. I'm only looking at the back side. Do I have a particularly robust? Yeah. I don't think it's happy. I don't think the thumb drive is happy, but it hasn't blown up yet. My cheapy thumb drive is robust. I guess we'll give it a minute. Kind of a shame if this one doesn't blow up. Do I have another thumb drive I can use? Yeah, I've got one. Got another cheap one here I can try. So, oh, look at that bright light. Yeah, that thumb drive is not happy. I'm afraid to touch it. I wish I had a thermal camera. I gotta get me one of those. All right, hold on, let me try another thumb drive. Okay. Okay, this one seems to be a slightly different design. Let's see if we got something here. Oh, well, that's disappointing. Maybe I'll insert some kind of video explosion so that you won't be disappointed. All right, well, I switched the power back to the way it was, the way it should be, and plugged the first drive in. Let's see if it still works. I'll be darned. Well, I can't guarantee that all thumb drives would survive that. Unfortunately, I couldn't find one that wouldn't. So anyway, that's what happens when you plug the power connector in upside down on a Gotek. I'm glad I was able to share that with you. Thanks for watching, friends, and we'll see you next time. Bye.